Hello, this is Michael Tracy, and this video is going to look at 3 works of art relating to Mallory and Irvine, 2 of which you will easily agree are art, and 1 which you will need to examine very closely before you see its artistic nature. The first is this digital image produced by Balázs Mateo, a Hungarian artist. It is my favorite image of the climb because it clearly depicts them taking some route other than the ridge, as the first step and the base of the second are visible in the background. Now, this location does not correspond to any actual place on the mountain, as it has too much of an angle to be the zigzag route and is too close to be from the couloir. But it is a great piece of art because it captures a truth that people at the time were not able to discuss. The image was first published on May 27, 2014, and years ago I did reach out to this artist to ask him about his inspiration for this image, but I never heard back. If anyone knows this artist and if he would like to come on the channel and discuss his art, I would be happy to have him. Back in 2014, there was an extreme bias against anything other than them climbing the ridge. Internet bullies are not new, and back then the debate about Mallory and Irvine was heavily influenced by a small number of individuals that ridiculed anyone who disagreed with the second step theory. The main way the narrative was controlled was by saying that because you didn't climb Mount Everest, you were just an armchair mountaineer and should shut up and listen to the so-called experts. A brief search of the Himalayan database shows that Balázs Mateo never climbed Mount Everest. Thus, presenting this theory outside of the artistic form was not going to get a good reception. Likely, his art would have been much more popular if it showed Mallory and Irvine trying to overcome the second step in some heroic climbing effort. But true artists do not care about popular opinion, and this piece portrays the banality of the climb. The details the artist put in about the oxygen, their clothing, and just their posture indicates that they are in the middle of a very long slog. It is not a heroic struggle. They are not near the summit. They are not overcoming any difficult obstacle. They are just slogging along a route that requires none of that. Perhaps that is the genius of this piece, the banality of the climb. Another important idea embodied in this work will be visited again in future videos, and that is the concept of truth through fiction. This concept shows up frequently in Chinese literature, as the Chinese people have a long history of living with oppressive regimes that seek to control every aspect of human thought, the current Maoist regime being but the latest in a rather long line. And in that long history, there have also been artists and writers that adopt the concept of truth through fiction, and to look at how various Chinese artists have dealt with that issue over the centuries. In contrast to the banality of the climb, this next piece is a YouTube video portraying Mallory and Irvine exiting the zigzag route set to heroic music. Posted 6 years ago, it also presents through art what could not be discussed as part of any debate. People ask whether the photo is authentic, and while I do not know where the photo came from, it appears to be an artistic creation. Certainly it is not a long-lost photo from Odell, but it does capture what Odell would have seen when he saw the 2 small dots approaching a rock step at the foot of the pyramid. Importantly, the video is just 1 minute and 2 seconds in length, and it captures the essence of what other YouTubers have droned on about for hours.
Exactly last step but one means, but there's essentially 3 little mini steps in here, and he's just referring to them as ridge rock steps. That means a rock step that's on the ridge. And
turning to the final piece, it is another YouTube video that people have not yet recognized for the work of art that it is. I'll play a brief clip and then get into the analysis.
In 1921, Mallory had just returned to Britain after serving in World War I, where he saw a flyer advertising a climbing expedition, the first of its kind, an attempt of Everest. Mallory, having spent a semester in college on an excursion in the Alps, had developed an interest in mountain climbing and saw this as the perfect opportunity. He did not hesitate as he stepped forward and volunteered himself for the expedition.
Now, there is no way a reasonable person could make that many mistakes just in the opening bit of a video. This is not going to be another everything wrong video, as that would be like criticizing Picasso because his paintings don't look very realistic. When you watch that video, nearly every single major fact is just wrong. And not just wrong as in copied from Wikipedia, but wrong as in deliberately made up and obviously intended to be made up. For instance, it does not take a PhD in history to know that World War I did not end in 1921. The armistice was signed in 1918, and Mallory returned home to England in 1919. In 1920, he applied for a job at the League of Nations, sort of the precursor to the United Nations, and he was asked to work as an observer in the Irish-British conflict. During World War I, the Irish attempted a rebellion against British rule, and although quickly put down in Easter of 1916, there was still strong resentment against British rule in Ireland. Mallory was dispatched to report on the situation using his numerous contacts in the climbing community, and it was when he was returning from that assignment in Ireland in early 1921, he received a letter asking him to participate in an Everest expedition. Mallory having extensive mountaineering experience and was regarded as one of the top climbers in England at the time. The entire success of his trip to Ireland coming from his using his climbing fame to enter into political dialogues with various Irishmen. Initially, Mallory did not want to go to Everest for an extended trip away from his new family, but his climbing mentor Geoffrey Young went to visit Mallory and Ruth at their home and convinced him to go. The primary selling point was that if Mallory was successful, he could use his fame to start the new type of school Mallory wished to found. Mallory was not fond of the British school system that he had grown up in and wanted to found a new school that was more tolerant and accepting of different types of students. Now, these main points are not a secret, and they are covered in various books such as Into the Silence and The Wildest Dream. While Wikipedia does not go into these details, it certainly does not have World War I ending in 1921, nor Mallory responding to a flyer with only a semester of climbing in the Alps. Nor could this possibly be confused with Irvine, who was too young to have fought in the war and was asked to join the expedition by Noel Odell, and that was not until 1924, Irvine having never been climbing in the Alps at all. But all of that is just criticizing Picasso for not being realistic. The purpose of the video is not to be informative. It is to make an artistic statement. As with all art, such statements are generally vague, and there is no one right answer as to what is being said. But I would encourage you to watch the entire video and think for yourself, why was the video made? As an exercise, you can see how many mistakes you can spot on your own, but I've already told you that nearly every major fact in the video is wrong. But what is the video really about? And what does it say about our society, the internet, and YouTube? Read some of the comments. Are they part of the art? And after spending some time thinking about it, hopefully some of you will agree that this represents a new type of art, a type that is growing in popularity even as it goes unseen. But this new art is the most interesting of all because the canvas is your mind.